How's it going, mate? You alright? Nice to finally meet you, man. Hello. How's it going? Hello again. Once again.
Are you hosting the demo? I feel like
Yes, me. I'm in there. How's it going, man? Nice to meet you. Nice to meet you.
Last week, I was lucky enough to go hands-on with the Quest 3, Meta's much-hyped successor to the Quest 2, the VR headset which almost took VR fully mainstream. Now this video certainly won't be a full review or breakdown of the Quest 3. My play session lasted for around 1 hour of gameplay across a handful of VR and MR experiences, and truth be told, it was a very controlled scenario that didn't allow for too much experimentation or exploration of the systems and menus of the Quest itself. I'm sure we won't know all the ins, outs, highs and lows of Meta's new headset until we've had some real hands-on time in our own home environments, and I aim to get those kind of impressions to you as soon as I physically can. But for now, let me just say that my initial experience with the Quest 3 was highly positive, with just a few little thoughts or worries about this new headset's potential for success and adoption. So today, let me talk you through those initial impressions, starting with a roundup of the price, release date, and an overview of the general technical specs powering Meta's next attempt at VR and now also MR dominance. The Quest 3 pre-orders start today, and the new hardware comes in 2 different flavours when it launches on the 10th of October. First up, we have the 128GB model, which is retailing at $499.99 or £479.99, and then we have the 512GB model, which retails for $649.99 or £619.99. There's no technical advantage of getting the Quest 3 with more storage. You won't have to worry about running out of install space or managing your game's library quite as much, but the specs of both versions are identical outside of that. However, both versions do come with some different freebies at launch, and that might help to sway your decision regarding which one you buy. Both the 128GB and 512GB models come with a free copy of the upcoming Asgard's Wrath 2, which is clearly the first game truly built to take advantage of this much more powerful Quest 3 hardware. And then on top of that, the 512GB version also comes with 6 months worth of Meta Quest Plus, the subscription service that gives you 2 games each month, games that you can play to your heart's content as long as you stay subscribed to the service. Under the hood of the Quest 3 is a very impressive beast. It boasts specs that show a clear increase in power over the beloved Quest 2. It's a clear increase that was very noticeable during my hands-on time and one I didn't quite expect. However, the way in which this additional tech and power is harnessed will be very much a case-by-case and game-by-game basis, but we'll talk about that a little bit later. At a glance, this is what the Quest 3 is working with. Quest 3 is built with the new Snapdragon XR2 Gen 2 platform chipset for 2 times the graphics performance and faster load times than that of the Quest 2. The Quest 3 has 2 pancake LCD lenses with a resolution of 2064 by 2208 per eye. This offers an on-paper increase of 30% over the resolution of the Quest 2. It has a 110-degree horizontal and 96-degree vertical field of view, which is around 15% wider than that of the Quest 2, making this a far more immersive experience. 2 RGB cameras deliver full-color high-fidelity pass-through for MR experiences that provide 10 times more pixels than the Quest 2 and 3 times more pixels than the Quest Pro. The headset has a display refresh rate of 90Hz with an optional 120Hz experimental mode, and it supports an IPD from 53mm to 75mm, meaning the Quest 3 covers a wider range of interpupillary distances than any previous Meta headset. And the headset is built in such a way that you can wear glasses inside without an additional glasses spacer. To put it simply, this is the slimmest, sleekest and most powerful standalone VR headset I've ever used, and certainly the best that Meta have made to date. It's also worth pointing out the fact that there are 2 different colorways for the fabric facial interface and strap on display as well, a blood orange and elemental blue option that will be available alongside the Quest 3's release. So if you're feeling a little adventurous and perhaps wanted to inject a little color into your new headset, then there's something you can grab come launch day. The first thing I noticed when putting the Quest 3 onto my head was just how comfortable it was. I wasn't able to play using the stock strap, which is almost identical to the fabric stock strap of the Quest 2, so I can only speak to the comfort of the experience when using a more robust adjustable strap. In this case, it was the new Quest 3 Elite strap. Despite being extremely comfortable, the Quest 3 isn't actually lighter than the Quest 2. Initially, I thought it might be just based on how much slimmer it is, but in actual fact, the Quest 3 is heavier than its predecessor, heavier by a measly 12 grams anyway. You wouldn't know it though. The centre of gravity is far closer to your face with the Quest 3. It doesn't protrude anywhere near as far out as the Quest 2 does, and this makes for a more enjoyable and instantly comfortable experience. Everything feels well balanced, and it's clear there's been a lot of consideration when it comes to making this a much more user-friendly and comfort-focused experience when compared to the Quest Pro, which I actually found to be one of the more uncomfortable headsets I've ever used. The Quest 3 touch controllers are similarly well built and great to use. At this stage, there isn't a huge amount to write home about. If you've used the Quest Pro controllers, then you'll be extremely familiar with these. They are, however, lighter and smaller than the Quest Pro counterparts, coming in at 126 grams compared to 164 grams for the Quest Pro controllers. As always though, they feel great in your hands, the build quality is high, and at this point I think it's safe to say that Meta have nailed the feeling and functionality of their VR controllers. It's worth mentioning that I had absolutely no issues with tracking during my demos. Even in the poorly lit room, the Quest 3 controllers felt accurate, responsive, and much like the Quest Pro controllers, I didn't notice any drawback to them not having the tracking rings like the Quest 2 controllers. Overall, it's a very well built, nicely balanced and comfortable headset that initially feels better than the Quest 2 did straight out of the box, but I'm yet to test it with the stock strap and would need some more in-depth comparison time to really decide how it stacks up. I wish I could show you gameplay from this event. I wasn't allowed to record any, and it's a shame because it would demonstrate my point far better than my words alone ever could, but I will try my best to break down what I saw on the Quest 3 from a resolution, graphical fidelity and upgrade over the Quest 2 perspective. I played two pure VR experiences during my hands-on time, an upgraded version of Red Matter 2 and an open world section of Assassin's Creed Nexus. Red Matter 2 was the standout in terms of sheer visual quality. This upgraded version included the ability to switch between the Quest 2 visuals and the new enhanced Quest 3 visuals at the touch of a button, and let me tell you, it was a little bit mind-blowing. Red Matter 2 is still one of, if not the, best looking games on the Quest 2, and seeing it here alongside the new Quest 3 visuals was shocking. The Quest 3 version looked far closer to the PCVR or PSVR 2 version of the game. Crystal clear visuals meant I could read text even from great distances, lighting was enhanced in incredibly impressive ways, and shadows had been added to all the items in the environments. It was so strange switching back to the Quest 2 visuals that have no shadows at all, and then going back to the Quest 3 where you can literally make shadow puppets on the walls using your torch and the hands in game. It's a small detail, but it goes a long way to pushing this version of the game close to the PC counterpart. The resolution increase on the Quest 3 is immediately noticeable. Everything looks sharper and far more defined when compared to the Quest 2 and even in comparison to the Quest Pro. However, it isn't just sheer visual fidelity that is improved with the Quest 3. It's the scale and seamlessness of environments in games like Assassin's Creed Nexus. Now, this was the game I was most excited to try on the day, and honestly I struggled to pull myself away from it when the demo had run its course. Assassin's Creed Nexus isn't as visually impressive as some of you might be hoping. Playing it after Red Matter 2 was probably a bad move, as Red Matter has a level of detail and sharpness that hardly any other standalone VR game can compete with, so switching straight over to Creed was a tiny bit jarring. Don't get me wrong, it looks amazing, but it had a slight soft focus that becomes obvious when coming from something so sharp. However, what Creed lacks in visual fidelity, it more than makes up for in gameplay, freedom, and large-scale environments. I started my demo by throwing a dagger at an innocent woman. She of course died, and this caused quite a stir. Guards immediately zeroed in on my location, and crowds of people went running in all directions. I instinctively climbed the nearest street lamp and jumped from the top of that to a nearby building. I scaled the wall until I reached the roof, where I began running, jumping, and mantling my way across the city, dispatching any guards who happened to be positioned on the rooftops. It felt just like Assassin's Creed. That's the highest compliment I can give it. Climbing, fighting, exploring, and experiencing an instantly recognizable Assassin's Creed 2 environment in VR was a joy, and the Quest 3 meant it was seamless with no hitches whatsoever, no loading screens or dropped frames. Even in this early demo state, it ran beautifully and showed me the potential of large open environments filled with objectives on Quest 2 hardware. Both VR games I played showed the capabilities of the Quest 2. One showed me just how good a game can look on this hardware, and the other just how open and exciting one can be. If Meta can continue to secure top quality experiences like Red Matter 2 and Assassin's Creed Nexus for the Quest platform, then the future looks very bright indeed. During this event, there was a real emphasis on MR or mixed reality. Of the 6 experiences I went hands-on with, 4 of them were mixed reality, and I do understand why. The Quest 3 is the first mixed reality consumer-focused headset that Meta have released. Quest 1 and 2 were almost entirely VR-focused. The pass-through wasn't good enough to facilitate meaningful MR experiences, and the Quest Pro was priced so high that most average consumers wouldn't have picked it up to try their hand at the better, but still far from perfect, pass-through MR experience. With Quest 3, however, the pass-through is finally good enough to really sell these experiences. Now, when it comes to MR, I have been a naysayer for the longest time. I've struggled to see how these games could be anything more than gimmicks in most cases, but within the first few seconds of using Quest 3, it was like my eyes were open to the potential for the very first time. It's worth noting that the room I played in was extremely orange. The lighting was god-awful, and I had to apply a world of effects to this footage to stop it from looking like I was being cooked under some warm restaurant heat lamps. So this probably wasn't the best location to truly appreciate and analyze the quality of pass-through. But even in this less than ideal environment, the pass-through obliterated the quality of Quest 2 and Quest Pro. I could move around comfortably with a clear sense of depth and scale to my surroundings. I could clearly see faces and even read text in the room around me. And the MR elements that started to burst into my real-world environment were sharp, colourful, vibrant, and believable. As I said, I played 4 different MR experiences during my time. A new First Steps onboarding experience called First Encounters, an MR version of Samba Di Amigo, an MR Stranger Things experience, and a co-location Robot Wars meets Smash Bros style arena brawler called BAM. Of these 4 experiences, First Encounters impressed me the most. It's a simple experience whereby alien creatures are breaking through the ceilings and walls around you, and you need to shoot to capture them. It's fairly simple, however, shooting the real-world walls to reveal an alien landscape that spans off into the distance is such a bizarre and impressive feeling that blended MR and VR beautifully, especially on this crisp, visually impressive new Quest 3 display. I have 2 slight worries or concerns about the Quest 3 at this very early stage. Firstly, the price point. Now, I think it's actually spot on. The experience you get with the Quest 3 is definitely worth the price. The headset itself is a beautifully designed piece of tech that doesn't feel cheap in any way, shape, or form. It's actually a really impressive piece of engineering that feels seamless and solid. The gameplay experience from my very limited playtime is also very high quality. Red Matter 2 showed me just how good a Quest 3 game can look, and Assassin's Creed showed me an environment with scale and freedom unlike anything I've seen on a standalone piece of hardware so far. Pair this with the pass-through, MR experiences, and general suite of new tech and features, and the headset feels like it's priced perfectly. However, we probably shouldn't expect the same kind of runaway success that the Quest 2 enjoyed. Simply put, at £299.99, the Quest 2 hit the sweet spot of being affordable enough for most parents to justify as a present for their kids, and was also spot on when it came to curious gamers who were interested in trying VR for the first time. It also benefited from a global pandemic and a shortage of PS5 and Xbox One X consoles. It was a perfect storm that created a wonderful success story. At $500 or almost £500, Quest 3 is a harder sell to general audiences who aren't already invested in VR. I think the price is definitely right for the Quest 3 given what I've seen so far, but I wouldn't expect this to shift the units that the Quest 2 did. This is the upgrade for those invested in Quest 2, for those invested in VR, for those who want a higher quality standalone experience or a better PC VR headset that's more comfortable, technically impressive, and and feature rich. The Quest 2 will still likely be the go-to headset for kids, newcomers, and those curious about VR in general. Secondly, what kind of content is coming to justify this new tech? Will enough developers of Quest platform games harness the additional power of the Quest 3 to make it a worthwhile investment? Will enough meaningful new experiences built with the Quest 3 in mind justify this purchase for those looking to potentially upgrade? During the event I attended, it was confirmed that over 100 new and upgraded titles are coming to Meta Quest 3 through the end of the year. Over half of these apps are brand new games and upgrades, and MR features are coming to another 50 plus titles currently on the Meta Quest store. Now that's a lot of content, to be fair, and Red Matter 2 running on Quest 3 showed me that the right developer will be able to do incredible things with the Quest 3 hardware, and those who experience it will likely struggle to go back to the comparative blurriness of the Quest 2. So here's hoping that Meta continue to invest in their content strategy in ways that make the Quest 3 look like a worthwhile investment. So, what are my final thoughts after 1 hour with the Quest 3? Well, it feels like an extremely impressive and worthy successor to the Quest 2 that is finally able to toe the line between VR and MR experiences seamlessly. It convinced me, a previously firm believer that MR was a gimmick without much meaningful application, that MR has huge potential given the right game or developer, and seeing the sharp, vibrant quality of VR elements blended perfectly with the room around me via the Quest 3's far more impressive pass-through was an eye-opening moment for sure. My time with the headset was brief, so it's difficult to fully summarize my thoughts about it thus far. There are still so many things we don't know, and I'm sure many things that will only reveal themselves once I get my own headset at home to experiment with, but right now, I'm impressed. It's comfortable, it's well designed, it feels extremely premium, and the experiences I played showed the potential of this new hardware to give players something much closer to the high fidelity of PC VR gaming than I've ever seen on a standalone piece of hardware. Obviously, it will boil down to each individual game and the developers behind them. The Quest 3 will still have its limitations, but those who truly harness the power of the Quest 3 have the ability to get extremely close to VR experiences until now were locked behind a much higher price point. Red Matter 2 on Quest 3 with its dynamic shadows, incredible lighting, and much higher resolution honestly looked like it was edging close to the PC or PSVR 2 version of that game, and that's mind-blowing when you think about it. We've never seen virtual reality or visual fidelity look like this running on standalone hardware. It's exciting, and I really hope we see a consistent stream of high-quality games to back up this headset, because ultimately, hardware is cool, but content is king.